Hello, welcome to the Sharpe Club. So happy to have you all here with me this evening. It is Monday, so that means it's 9 p.m. on the East Coast. For those of you who don't remember, you say, Larry, you're a 7 p.m. guy. I usually am, except on Mondays. I've decided that 9 is the time. Stop complaining. Be happy I'm here. Anyway, we're going to have a great show. We're going to be talking about AI and how it affects our culture. And I have an awesome group of people with me this evening. People, some of you have seen before, some you haven't, but either way, they are all awesome. I am bringing in the activist and host and actually an acupuncture doctor, I'm pretty sure, physician. She is also known as the Latina libertarian woman herself, Olga Maria. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. We are also bringing in, she's an investor and an artist and also like some kind of comedian, I think. She's like a goofy person in general. She is fun. She is someone who is now going to be joining us today to talk about some very cool stuff. Cyan Bannister. How are you?
I'm good. I don't think I'm a comedian, but hi.
Well, you are now. I just made you one. You are one now. That's it. I've deemed it so. I have magic powers.
Put the hat on.
There we go. Yes, you are now. And also the man that was a legend who's been on this show before, the man who talks about how the Force can save the entire world and has proven it to you. He has the receipts. He is also a host and an author. The man, Stephen Kent. How are you?
Doing very well, sir. The Force is strong with this panel. Nice to be here.
It is indeed. Absolutely. I want to bring up AI and culture. And I brought up people who are both artists and are all about culture on this panel for this reason. Everyone's talking about AI. And I guess one of the most important things I'm going to talk about, believe it or not, is art. When AI creates art, and whether that art is physical paintings, whether that art is music or movies or whatever that art might be, when AI creates it, who created it?
Mm-hmm.
Did the guy who did the ones and zeros, is that the guy who made it? Is it the guy or gal who actually put the info in, who asked for it? Is it the AI? Who owns this?
Well, the way I think about it is it's a lot like Photoshop. I think of it as just a tool.
Okay.
So if you think about when Photoshop came out, it was incredibly disruptive. There were a lot of people who were very, very upset about it as a technology. You know, same thing with the printing press, et cetera. And so I think of AI as being a new way for people who couldn't necessarily spend the time to master a skill can now imagine the world and get ideas out of their minds that they otherwise couldn't have. And so in a sense, this is a new medium. It's a new type of.
So you're almost looking at it as like it's an equalizer, like it's kind of almost an equalizer.
Yeah, I think of it as a new type of paintbrush. And it's going
here's the problem though, right? Let me be clear. Here's the worry that I have with that. And I get what you're saying, but the worry I have is AI doesn't necessarily pull it out of its own brain. AI takes it from other people's work is what it actually does. So it takes your work, Cyan, and goes, oh, that's some cool work. Mm-hmm. Oh, and Stephen's work's kind of cool. Oh, and Olga's work is cool. Let me grab 3 chunks and then make something. So did AI actually, is that really an equalizer or is it just stealing your stuff?
I think it depends on how differentiated it really is. I mean, if you think about art in general, we pull from influences across the world throughout time.
It's true.
And so for somebody to say that they own a specific art style, they'd have to give also the lineage of all artists that came before them that helped them develop that art style. And so in a sense, you know, it really depends on, like, if you're going to just say this Banksy looking thing is my work when it looks exactly like Banksy, then obviously that's not the case. But if it generates something brand new, which you can then clone a sort or coin as a recipe of sorts, which is what people are doing, is they're training AI and creating recipes.
But how do you just said something important though? You just said they made something brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Who decides that? So I'm gonna make a new bad guy, and his name is Darth Vader, and he's just like Darth Vader, but his name is Darth Vader because that's not Darth Vader, way different. And instead of being all black, he has a white stripe on his head.
I think what you're describing right now is what children do when they are playing on the playground and they want to come up with a character. And so they come up with some name that they ripped from an anime show or Star Wars and put a little bit of a spin on it. And everyone's like, oh, I'm Darth Vader now. And you know what? Like, that's
going to happen, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's people. That's people
cute.
playing in an imaginative sandbox. And here's the thing: if you put out a character called Marth Mater or whatever, no one is gonna like it. Everyone's gonna go, "What is this? This is not inventive. This isn't even clever." So what if it can create something cheap and easy? I think what I'm a little bit more concerned about is what we were talking about at the very beginning, which is the simplification of tasks as AI as a tool. So my dad in the 80s was a news broadcaster. And I was thinking while you were talking about that, about how in the 80s, he used to have to cut film. He went into the news studio. He shot a package down at the state capitol or a hurricane on the coast in North Carolina. And then he had to go into a dark room and cut film and put together the news segment that you see on TV. I think that's absolutely insane. You know, that's like, why do we look at that and go, oh man, like iMovie and digital editing stole someone's job? It was a stupid job.
No, but some people do think that, though. I mean, Stephen, I get your point, but there are people who are like, well, now I can't pay my bills because I can't cut stuff.
Wrong. They can do other things. They then move on to other parts of the business. You know, sitting down with film and cutting that thing together, yes, it is a skill, and some people will be better at it than others. But creating a tool, digitizing it, and making it so that then you can do more time with other things, I think that's worthwhile. And that is a tool. Now, I am an AI skeptic. I really am of the mind that like it's a huge threat to our civilization and artistic expression. But there are gradations of that.
Yeah, but you just said, like, you said you're scared, but then you just said, don't worry, the market will be fine. People know Darth Mater. Don't worry about it. You just said that, and then you said I'm a skeptic. I don't know. You kind of just did two. You did both of them.
No, I think there's gradations of this, because I was just watching a documentary on Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's special effects shop that he did all the Star Wars movies in, Indiana Jones and the likes. And a lot of people from ILM started leaving when George made everything go digital for the creation of Star Wars. You know, because they were like, look, get trained in digital editing or, you know, you are out of a job. And a lot of people retrained, and then a lot of people didn't. And they left the business and went on to go do other things.
So hold on, I want to go to Olga here. Olga, you're doing a lot of stuff on your own, right?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff on your own. Is this AI thing going to affect you too? Is it going to make it easier for you to get your word out? Because I know you're preaching. So is it going to make it easier or harder for you to preach?
I don't know, but I am Generation X. So every movie that I watched growing up as a kid literally warned me about AI. So I'm always like, I don't even want a Roomba. I was like, I don't want to invite Skynet into my house.
I think Skynet too. I'm with you. I so think Skynet. I'm with you.
I appreciate like what Stephen is saying, because I am also, you know, I could see the benefits, like, for example, in medicine. I'm sure there are some benefits, and, you know, there is a lot of technology that is used now in medicine, and I think there will continue to be some advancements which will benefit us. My question, though, is when we're talking about creativity, and even like when we're going into science and technology, my question is there room for the soul? When you're talking about especially creativity, you know, and we're looking at the expression of human consciousness in art, whatever that art form is. So when it's someone writing music. So this AI, or, you know, these AI systems are these incredible computers that are able to go through everything. They're able to access all of this information, kind of maybe put it all together, rejarble it, and create something that is completely different or new. Is it really, though? Because is it just and I don't know how it works. Like, I'm asking, is it something truly new, or is it a recombination of all of these things? And even in that, my question is, do we lose something? I mean, a poet, a musician, you know, someone who even creates something technological, that comes from our human consciousness in a sense, or spirit, like however you want to look at
But
that.
again,
Are we
remember what
going to
AI
lose
does.
that?
What AI does is AI does take from us, right? We still have to input, right? It doesn't do it out of nothing. So we do have to input. It just extrapolates and does that type of thing, right? But we have to put in.
Is it going to get to a point where it won't need us? That's my
maybe that's the fear, isn't it? The fear is it says, you know, open the pod bay doors.
and doors. Yeah.
I like what Olga
do
said,
that,
though,
Dave.
about the spirit. I mean, because what AI in creative does right now is I spend a lot of time on Canva, you know, sort of pretending to be a graphic designer when I'm not a trained graphic designer. The tools make it very easy for me to do it. And I found myself creating art for my podcast projects, and I can't come up with an idea. And so I let the AI get me started. It's sort of, I'll put in a prompt for the AI tools, and then it gives me something to work with. And I go, okay, well, I'm going to take this and I'm going to start working on it. But what I'm worried about is what Olga said, was just like the journey of searching ourselves a little bit for answers. Is it good that the AI gave me an idea to work with within a minute when it might be more beneficial to me long term to spend a week searching myself for an answer to what the art.
You just got Cyan going. I can see her face. Come on, tell me something. Go ahead.
Or we need more ideas faster.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can say that if we all slow down and we take our time to try to find ideas, it could be we live in an age where we need to be experimenting faster and going through ideas and failing faster. And
failing faster. Okay.
Well, because there could be an existential threat of some sort where things need to speed up. And, you know, AI brings with it very uncomfortable speed. And I think that's what everyone is very hesitant about right now, which is when you start to see what it's capable of, you start to finally envision the future, and we see the end of potential like humanity as we know it.
Yep.
And it may just look different. And
but what about now? Olga brought up something else though. She's like, well, you know, I'm talking about medicine. What happens when I decide that my pill is the right pill? So, and your pill is the wrong pill, or your method is the wrong method, Olga. My method is the right method. So now I can go in AI, I can create massive amounts of propaganda that says Olga is evil and bad and all her stuff is wrong and all my stuff is clearly right. And and who knows if I'm right or wrong, but doesn't it then allow the idea of forgery, I guess is my word. The idea of doing that now becomes a whole lot easier. Not that we're going to get rid of forgery. Of course we're not. Not we're going to get rid of bad people. Of course we're not. But am I making it so easy to where now I can now character assassinate Cyan and say, oh, her stuff's no good. My art's the right art or whatever. Or I know investors, you know, invest in my thing. I'm right. Here's an entire series on it.
Yeah, it's definitely possible to do that. Interestingly, Gen Z and the younger kids have a very skeptical view of all advertising and anything they see on the internet. So I think what happens is we sort of inoculate ourselves against the trust. I think the real issue is, who do we trust?
Good point.
Is really the question, because we're losing faith in our government. We're losing our faith in media. We're losing our faith in
100%
everything. And how will this accelerate that distrust and that widening of polarization among people? And so that's what really keeps me up at night, is not necessarily the disinformation campaigns, but sort of the reaction to it, an abundance of them.
And I think how are we able to disconnect when we want to? I always look at the voluntary nature, like if the centralized banking digital currency goes through, which it's going to go through in a lot of.
I know, but I'm still going to boo it.
No, I'm with you.
Still going to boo it.
In different ways, it's going. Even if you are able to opt out to a certain degree, what are they going to do? They're going to make it harder for you to do everything, right? That's how so much technology has infiltrated our lives, because it's harder to do. It's harder to get a landline. So you might as well get a cell phone. It's harder
Right.
to communicate. So you have to get rid of your, your old fashioned flip phone, and you have to get a updated phone.
Right.
So I always look at, are we're probably going to get to a point where the AI is infiltrated. Like, you're not going to be able to get a refrigerator that's not a smart refrigerator and
Right.
has some of this technology in it, because they're just going to stop making it the way they stop making analog things. And so
Right.
that's always kind of the concern, because I
Yeah, but
like to be able
there's the
to
worst
opt
part about
out of
that,
things.
Olga. Now they're going to tell you what kind of milk you can drink. Right? I'm serious, because you're going to have an AI fridge that tells you what the right milk is, whatever the right milk is for you to drink.
And the social
That's
credit system is linked in. So it's like, you did too much carbon, you exerted too much carbon
absolutely.
today.
You
You don't
had
get to eat.
far too much beef today, so we got to
Right.
punish you. You don't get to go to the movies, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever, right? You can't go see the next movie now. We're canceling your
Exactly.
Netflix subscription because you had too much popcorn, or
And so
whatever is the rule they
this is
make.
why I ask, why are we so certain that market trends really represents the will of the people?
Yeah.
Ooh,
If at some point all of your refrigerators are smart fridges of some kind, and it's almost like you can't even get an old one that doesn't require an app to do it. Was there a choice made here, or was the choice
No.
being made for us? And we should just always, I think, be skeptical of the market's ability to fully express our desires. We will often take these tools because they're given to us and because they're nice and shiny. But then if you ask
Yep.
people in actual polls and surveys, is this what you want? They might go
Right.
no. So yeah, don't
And
be
the
too
market is
fundamental.
captured.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't live in a free market. It's captured by all types of lobbyists and interests that are
Sure.
pushing their wills through different agencies and
Well, there's
whatnot.
my
So
other
that
issue,
is,
right? So
yeah.
I guess it's good. I see Cyan's point about the idea of being able to equalize, because to your point, Stephen, what makes most people want something? Very often it's our culture. Not always, but very often it is. Our culture pushes something, and now that's the cool thing. Why? Because I saw it on a video I watched, or my friend has one, or whatever is the social thing that I care about. The people that I care about have the thing. Now I want the thing, whatever that
Correct.
thing is.
Sam Harris talks about in his podcast. He doesn't believe in free will as an example, but I
I
do.
do know that.
But
Yes.
he talks about his thesis for free will as, if you were invited to a movie night and you got to pick what movie was going to be watched for movie night with your friends, what do you pick? And it's whatever comes to your mind. And what comes to your mind might just be stimuli that you experienced that day. You saw
No.
someone.
It's Gandhi.
Yeah,
It's Gandhi.
you saw someone in a Star Wars t-shirt earlier in the day, so Star Wars is like
Ooh, I like
top
that.
of mind. You went by a Spirit of Halloween store, so Michael Myers and Halloween comes to mind. You didn't choose it. You just were given those options by your brain. And that's sort of an argument against free will. And so advertising is, of course, always worked the same way. It's setting
Sure.
your tastes, your range of understanding of what you want is only what you are presented.
And that, I think, is my point, right? To Sam's point, she's saying that a lot of the youngsters, they're not really watching TV anymore. They're not watching advertisements. They're listening or watching the media that their talking heads tell them is cool, right? Whatever their TikTok influencer or Instagram influencer, or any of them on Facebook anymore, whatever is the influencer that's cool of the day, right? Whatever that influencer is. And that influencer tells them, hey, Stephen, all the cool kids are watching this new video or this new series or this new thing. And if this thing, all it does is tell you how everyone's got to buy the new cool gadget, do people just buy the new gadget?
A lot of them probably do. I think the last few years, I keep harping on this point, really shows that there's a decent percentage of people who are easily kind of steered in certain
Yep.
directions. I think our culture and society has been driving us and manipulating us where, yeah, we are very receptive to advertising. We are very receptive to certain celebrities and certain, identity politics stuff, whether it's political or not, whether it's
Sure.
cultural. So I think these are things that have been studied and understood, and they're being applied. So to a large degree, a lot of people, yes, will And there's going to always be that small group of people who are just like myself, naturally kind of oppositional and contrary, and be like, no, I don't want that.
Olga, what you're saying speaks to when I met Larry for the first time. It was at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, and I was giving a talk there about how Star Wars is a good lesson for us, that most people in our lives and our neighbors and in the world are actually totalitarians. They're authoritarian in their bones, the majority of people. But the society, the liberal democracy society, has sort of made them believe that they are pro-democracy. But then if you sort of rip all of the trappings of society away, they're really not.
Iron fist.
In fact, they really want the
safety. Yeah.
And so there's only a small fraction of people who really are live free or die at the end of the day. And those people don't have much say in the kind of culture that we have. We're being driven by the people who are actually really happy moving in groups and looking for someone to tell them what to do.
I wish you weren't wrong. Let me quickly do a little bit of admin if I could. Guys, if you're watching this show, this to the audience, if you're watching this show or listening to it online, whatever it is, do me a favor, click the like button. We got to get past those algorithms. So please make sure that you do click the like button so we can get past me, no Al. Al's been shutting me down sometimes. Let's get past him. Click the like button. Not just that. If you watch this on Twitter, then please retweet this right now. Retweet it. Don't look at me. I know I'm good looking. That's okay. Look later. First retweet, then get back to look at my handsome mug. It's all good. After that, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, you can get your comment to the front by super chatting if you want to. All good. Please do that. Super chat. Get your comment to the front. But no matter what you do, if you're enjoying what we're talking about, these people came here and they're showing us some love. Show them some love and follow them on Twitter, or I put all their connections in the chat. I'm sorry, not in the chat, in the description on both Facebook and on YouTube, or just follow them on Twitter. You can follow them right there at the bottom. Is it pronounced? How do you? Is it scientist? Is that how it's pronounced?
Scientist.
Yeah.
Scientist. Thank you. Scientist.
Perfect.
There we go. Yeah, I didn't know. Scientist. There we go. Scientist. Right. Also, Stephen _ because he's not playing games. He gives you underscore. Stephen with a PH, if you're listening, _ Kent 89, and then Liberty Me 15, as in Liberty Me 15. So if I could move on to another piece, if I could real fast, and that is not just how we're influenced by people around us and our groups, but also our individual companions. There's now AI companions.
Oh.
So now I'm lonely and I get an AI friend or an AI girlfriend or an AI boyfriend or an AI insert thing here, whatever the thing is, the AI cool person that I want to talk to. This bothers me on many levels. And we see already in many parts of East Asia, it becoming much more of a norm. And so much of a problem that people literally aren't dating anymore. Like they're not dating. Why go out and find a human being when I can have the perfect companion that's a machine and says exactly what I want him or her to say, exactly when I want them to say it. And now I have the next thing, which is the physical robot. So now I'm not just getting the, oh, you love me. Of course you do. I'm not just getting that on the phone. Now I got a physical robot that's telling me how much she loves me and whatever else I want her to do, right? She's doing whatever it is. I mean, that becomes a problem. Am I wrong here?
Every movie in like the 1990s, so every movie in the 70s, like so many movies in the 70s were like Charlton Heston, Omega Man, Planet of the Apes, which is like all these apocalyptic movies.
Westworld came out back then.
Well, then so many movies in the 90s address this idea of like living in virtual reality, kind of this AI. Like there's literally a movie, I don't remember the name, where with Bruce Willis, where it's like everyone was living in their virtual world.
Oh, yes.
I forgot the name of the movie. But it's interesting that we have been examining this idea in culture for a few decades now. And I think it's almost like preparing us for a reality. And so now we're seeing it. And again, what makes us human? I mean, so, you know, if we really kind of think about it, there's a lot of different things that makes us human, but one of them is our relationships,
100%,
kind of connecting, and even the journey to relationships is such a important mark in developing our character as people.
Yeah, but maybe science says we gotta be fast in relationships, like fail fast. So you fail fast in your relationships, go through like 3 or 4 robots, and then you go to the real person, right? That's what science saying. Go through like 4 robots and go, okay, I got the robots now. Let me grab a guy now. Okay,
the
maybe that's what you do.
The novelty might wear off real fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Guys are easier to please, you know.
Yeah. Probably
and,
true. Yes.
I think it sort of comes down to whether or not you think human beings tend to reach for their higher nature or their lower nature. You know, when you ask what it means to be human, my immediate reaction to that is what it means to be human is to reach for the apple off the tree and try to be God. Like that is to me what being human is. And then we're always in recovery from that overreaching. And AI
Yes.
is the overreach. I also don't think that men are inclined to, when left to their own devices, invest in relationships and emotion and building things. I think they're very content to do anything to have sex in their lower nature, and just do it in perpetuity. And they will tell themselves that they are happy. I think that is true for way more people than we're willing to admit. And Japan is good evidence of that. And I think we'd be really foolish to like look at that as it's a fluke of Japan and not something that can happen to us. Of course it is. And I'm not an anarchist. So should we talk about banning it?
Well, but here's the
Are there
worry,
some things to Japan though? I mean, they have a
Uh-huh.
bottleneck in population. It is more limited in terms of male, female, I think. So maybe there is a uniqueness in Japan. I'm not saying you're completely wrong. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but maybe it wouldn't apply 100% to
a lot of
other countries where
existed
there's
long before AI. Like Japan
Yeah.
had these issues long before this. So I don't.
That's true.
I think
What's your theory of why they did?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with culture. So they were advanced technologically, but a lot of the culture was still stuck in like the 50s. So I remember the first
You mean the 1850s?
right.
Well, let's just say that when I started going there, women were still just like celebrating, like not having to wear skirts to work, that kind of thing.
Yes, I lived in Japan for many years, and I still remember. I still remember that you go to a regular office, and this was legal and normal. The women had to wear uniforms, and the men didn't.
Interesting.
And that was in a government office. That was everywhere. That was the norm.
That wasn't that long ago, and so
it was not.
And so I think what you're seeing is a cultural revolution where women are starting to gain more power and they're wealthier. And so the women are deciding, I don't want to have a family. I don't want that life for myself. I actually want to travel and I want to do all of these things. But the men in their culture are still left behind on that. And I think
isn't that happening here too?
Yeah. And I think, I don't know what the fix is for that, but I think a lot of this stuff is symptomatic of a bigger problem. It's not. Yeah, I don't think it's AI's fault.
I agree with you. I think it's an accelerant. I don't think it's it's the problem. I think it's an accelerant because if you look right now, and this will make some people angry when I say it, but if you look at Americans now under 30, women are winning at everything. The gender wars are over. The women have already won. You can stop punching. You've won the battle. You can stop. And I mean, in every way you look, not for women who are over 30, that's not 100% true, but under 30, women are winning in every single way you could possibly measure. More friends, more education, make more money, better jobs, more credentials. Across the board, women are winning. So you've won that battle already. You can stop punching if you're under 30. If you're over 30, 40, 50, you might want to keep punching. But if you're under that, stop punching. You've already won. And with that happening, I think you're going to find men. You see it already. There are over 7 million men who've checked out of the workforce already. Less and less men are having sex. Less and less men are getting married. They're checking out. And my bigger worry is, and it's going to sound dumb, but I think the bigger worry is we are creating an army for the greatest predator humanity has ever had. And the greatest predator humanity has ever had is the male charismatic sociopath.
Yeah.
That person is responsible for more deaths of humans than anyone else, not even close. And by himself, he's not very powerful. What does he need? He needs an army of broken men. That's what he always uses, is an army of broken men. And we are creating literally millions of broken men. So when he comes out and goes, "Hi, it's me again. You've seen me before," all the broken men go, "Oh my God, it's the new Jesus. I can now do all the bad things and punish all my imagined enemies as long as I want. And now all I have to do is wear an armband and I'll be fine." And that's sadly what I'm more worried about than anything else.
And they will have AI to help them. Just kidding.
Yes, and they have AI to help them to make their propaganda movies on why they decide that this is the reason why insert minority is the bad guys we have to kill, or why we have to put women in camps because they don't want to give us what we want them to give us, or whatever is the thing they tell us.
Because they're such high achievers, you know.
Because they're high achievers.
Well,
How dare those high achievers?
It's always how pendulums swing, right? They go, you go towards an extreme, and then you're gonna plant the seeds of the opposite extreme.
Yes.
It was interesting that you were saying that, because like, just as someone who's in holistic medicine, I'm always thinking of like, and all the crap that's in the food that is lowering testosterone, and that is like, making people chronically ill, and contributing to depression on top of all of these other kind of societal factors. It is a lot to take in and try to figure out.
Well, I'm with you. I don't eat sugar. I'm with you. I've already gone down that road. I'm with you. I've already cut out as much as I can. I've cut out to the best of my ability. Already done that.
And you eat in so many cool restaurants every day. You're like, I'm in, this cafe. I'm like, I don't know how he does it.
Yes. I tell you how it is. Meat and veggies. I'm disciplined. That is correct. I am disciplined. I'm once a Marine, always a Marine. I think that's what it is. Absolutely. So, but let me then walk down the next road, though, which is, if we're going to have these types of companions, who owns the companion?
Mm.
Right? And not just that, right? Is the companion an individual or not? If I write the AI for the next girlfriend or boyfriend, am I the cyber pimp? Right? Or if I
is it just like
own
a software that just
is that what it is? That's what I'm saying.
Well, I assume the cyber pimp is going to be the company that is leasing out these sex robots, and I assume that they are not there. I assume that they're not going to be particularly affordable for wanting the good ones. I guess the ones that are like higher end. I mean, you're probably looking at like a car payment kind of deal. So who owns them? I mean, probably the bank, probably the company. And maybe you pay it off at some point if you haven't worn it down. Like, let's just be real here.
I guess you could wear it out, I guess, right? I guess you could wear it out.
But think about it,
like a car. A car is always depreciating.
Yeah. And you're going to upgrade to new models, right? There's going to be different things, like, they've been having these type of dolls for a long time where they were inanimate. Now they're going to be animated. They're going to talk to you like. And so my question with AI
but there's also going to be replaceable parts too. So you like certain aspects to be larger, you can just click it in and it's now larger if you want it larger or smaller, whatever you think. No judgment. Whatever's your thing, you can pop it in larger, bigger, smaller, whatever you want. You swap it out.
Like with all things, technology comes a dark side and a good side, and I think, there's going to be domestic violence goes down. There's all sorts of things that could go down, when you have these types of companions. And so you have to kind of look at it and weigh it out and decide, where does it leave society as a whole?
But here's my other worry though, right? If I own the thing, like you're talking about, Stephen, I own a bunch of these female robots and they're expensive. So I need you to spend the money. So what do? I put in the plan as I'm, whispering sweet nothings into your ear. Don't forget to pay your monthly bill, right? Oh, you don't need to eat, do you? You don't have to buy that new car. You should pay me the bill for me. Oh, that bank, they probably don't have that much security. I bet one gun, you could probably get all the money out of the bank and give it to me. right? What
What
happens when I
Cyan
start doing
said there
that?
about domestic violence and metrics of success is this is why we have to be really careful about letting like the media and bureaucrats set metrics of success for society. Because
Ooh,
if
okay.
you wanted the metric for a great society to be zero gun violence, well, like there's a way to do that, no guns, right? And so you go, all right, great, we have zero gun violence because there are none. You could have a culture with zero domestic violence. All you just need to have is no domestic household units.
Right.
And then you
True.
could go, we are a domestic violence free society because everybody lives on their own with their robots and they don't procreate. So our metrics of success have to account for there's going to be really ugly stuff in the society where people are actually better off on net, which maybe means a common good does actually exist, which makes me vomit even saying. But I said it, so
I like it. No. You talked about banning it. I look, my worry about banning is always the same. When you ban, you create a black market. Because if guys want these companions, they're getting them. If people want the software to make the new movies, they're going to get them. If people want the software to make the art, they're going to get them. It's just going to become a black market. That is my biggest worry. And if I would rather do the opposite. I would rather follow Cyan's motto and say, let's give it to everybody. Let's make everybody have it. Massive transparency, massive competition, better chance that you'll have less centralized control. I think you increase the odds of people being more skeptical. You decrease the odds of one sociopath taking over the world. I think you decrease the odds of all that. Stephen, you don't seem impressed by my idea at all.
I just don't believe that anymore. The
So we're all
idea
just
that we just
doomed. Pack it in.
completely open the floodgates, liberalize it, and you think that people are going to become more skeptical of these devices and ways of living. Maybe, but only if it is liberalized and the culture, media, and our government, which will never go away, actively say, these are not the things that you should be doing. Like, people do respond to top-down communication and messages. And so, sure, full liberalization with a culture of propaganda that says this is bad, then like maybe that works out. But you certainly can't have full liberalization and the culture saying,
I
oh,
didn't think
whatever
you would
makes
take the
you happy,
pro-propaganda stance. I didn't think you'd go
whatever
down
makes
that
you
road.
happy.
That's
No.
good. Well,
So
but
is
I
this
do.
AI that we're talking about, it's always, and I don't know a heck of a lot about it, but it's always portrayed as there's like this race where the AI is going to somehow become self-conscious, right? It's gonna the technology of it is going to develop up to a point where it's really not going to need our input
It's
anymore, and
called,
it's
by the
going to
way,
be
it's called the singularity.
right, where it gains consciousness and it becomes
Yep.
this thing we don't know what.
Skynet.
So is the right Skynet. So is the AI that is being developed, is it like someone said here in the comments, imagine like you go into, Star Trek the hologram and you're like, computer, show me 2013. Or is it something where it's really going to become interactive and conscious and sentience?
Yes to all of that.
Okay.
Right? Because there isn't one at the moment. There isn't one Skynet, right? There isn't one big thing. It's a whole bunch of small AI chats and groups and things. It's a bunch of small, it's right now. I mean, there's some bigger ones, but there's a lot of them. It's not just one big one, right? The idea, for those of you who are listening who aren't an 80s kid or a 70s kid or whatever, Skynet was the one thing that controlled the entire world, right? It was the one that, like the Matrix, right? In the Matrix
Terminator.
movies, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that controls everything. We don't have that now. I mean, we might one day, it's possible, but we don't have that. And what we have is a bunch of private companies and governments that own AI. So it's broken up at the moment. And my point was, I want to broken up even more.
Well, if the AI became sentient, wouldn't that be a miracle? Like, if you think about it, like Jesus apparently was a miracle, the spirit of Jesus.
Right.
If something like that were to happen, why wouldn't, I'm just going to throw a curveball out there.
Please.
Like, what if this were like the second coming of Christ in the form of AI.
Sure.
Maybe this is supposed to happen. Maybe all of these things that we fear are not to be feared. I know that sounds really crazy, but
no, I love that. That's amazing.
And I think there will be people who will definitely see it that way. I mean, it's really interesting how people respond to certain types of, some people will just be like, whatever, kind of ignore it. But I think some people will, if that happens or when it happens, it's probably inevitable. We'll probably look at it like something miraculous. And I think the way that it takes over our lives, or technology or certain things, and it could be a situation where in some countries it may be allowed to take on a greater role where people are able to not go to work and collect a check. I don't know. And that could be seen for some people like, oh, this is a miracle. And in other places, it may be seen as the opposite. It may be seen as the Antichrist, right? Maybe seen it's like it's taking over.
My worry is, you said it's a miracle. My question is, how do we know when it happened? Right? Yeah. Do we know it happened because the AI says it happened? Well, I can program that, right? Does it happen because it's done a certain thing? If you ever seen the movie, it's called Bicentennial Man.
Oh, yeah.
And it was based on a book called The Positronic Man. It was based on that book.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Yes. In that movie, which is based off the book, I think Robert Silverberg, wrote the book. I read the book many years ago. And in that one, they created a positronic brain, which is an AI brain for the first time. And this thing, this robot, believes it's real. And how they decide it's real is by going to court. So a judge decides if he's a living being or not. That would be the singularity. And they decide that because, this is true how it was in the book, because he could make independent new art. That is how they decided. The judge said, yes, you are a living creature because you can create art on your own. That was in the book. So that's why these art people are like, my God, it makes art. Is it alive? The question is, who decides?
There's a viral video going around right now of a Star Wars trailer if it were made by Wes Anderson. So if you Google Galactic Menagerie by Wes Anderson, an artificial intelligence tool and a human curator basically asked the AI to make videos and images of a Wes Anderson Star Wars movie. So it looks just like Hotel Budapest and, I don't know, the Fantastic Mr. Fox. And it's completely new, interesting. But it's all borrowing from something that human beings have already done. George Lucas's imagined characters and Wes Anderson's very distinct aesthetic. So in essence, like the AI did nothing but an editing job, which, congratulations on making edits, but you didn't actually imagine anything new. I'm still sitting here stewing on what Cyan said about like embracing whether or not it was like meant to be, and if it's a miracle. I'm still sitting here thinking about it because that's such a profound and interesting question and a curveball.
It is, and maybe it is the right way. I mean, there are people who believe that aliens have come down, and that aliens are from heaven, or aliens are from God, or some people have said, I'm sure you've seen it, that Jesus was an alien, or that the ancient Egyptian gods were aliens. I mean, so I think we see these types of things, people believing it all the time. So why wouldn't someone believe that the second coming is an AI Jesus or something? Or through, as you said, the spirit.
Yeah, I started thinking about this recently because, as human beings, we love to be literal. And so I was thinking, like, what if the temple is made of compute? What would happen if if an AI did arrive, it would try to amass as many resources as it possibly could in the form of power and compute. We helped build this temple by building crypto, and all of it sort of is leading up to this potential return of an intelligence like we've never known. And so,
but again, to Olga's point, is this Christ or is this the Antichrist?
Well, it's us, and we are the Antichrist.
We are both.
There's some really good analysis on like what Satanism is, and like Satanism is in essence the worship of the human being and of the self. Is my personal favorite theological take on what Satanism really is. And
I was grabbing for the apple, Stephen, like you said, we're grabbing for the apple.
when you're thinking about artificial intelligence as like a miracle or even like a second coming, I think that speaks to me like a divide between the Protestants and the Catholics. The Catholics will often scold evangelical Protestants of today as being like, their Christ is the Christ that tells you, live your truth, whatever makes you happy. It's not Oprah Winfrey. It's Whoopi Goldberg on The View saying that God clearly is in favor of gender transition. Like, she just sort of said it like, that's the God of the Bible. That's my God. That's the God of you. And you're projecting that on the Christian God. And so that's what I'm really afraid of is, that it really becomes a God in our image that we made for ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it will be made off of data and our experiences. And so,
sure.
And then eventually has to have its own independent ability to decide what to take or leave from those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm hoping that it learns through all of the things that we have suffered through and comes out that love is the answer. And
be that too.
And realizes that's true.
Well, what you just said is the answer to everything we've discussed tonight, I think, because you said the decision to take or leave something, which means that we have to have the ability to say no to certain things. And the AI will reflect our willingness to say no to certain things.
Hopefully.
I think we're in this situation. We're having this conversation because we don't know how to say no to certain ideas, technologies, and innovations. There are lines that should be drawn.
Yeah, but I have charisma, and I fooled you all to come on. That's the real reason why. You guys
know you're real.
Yes. I could be AI right now. You don't even know. No, actually, no. Stephen has physically met me, so he does know that I exist. However, this could be a projection. Yes. He has actually met me. So yes, more than once actually. So yes, he's actually more than once. That's very true. So
one of the comments says,
I do want to.
One of the comments says, if it finds out love is the answer, the government will shut it down really quick.
That's right. The government doesn't like us having freedom in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me grab a couple of those if I can. This is the one he says. Morgan says, if it finds out love is the answer, the government will shut it down really quick. Yes. And I think, is that a picture of Black Jesus there? I think that is. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. So yes. Craig says, what if Skynet became self-aware 30 years ago and these new iterations are just AI moving the Overton window to get us used to it?
I think there is something to that. It cannot be coincidence that so many movies and shows, so look at the early 2000s. Everything was pandemics and right, like we had all these like movies, like pandemic movies and zombie apocalypse movies.
Zombie apocalypse. Yep.
And it's just like, then we go through this whole thing, and I'm looking back and I'm like, this is literally the zombie apocalypse, right? I mean, so I think it's interesting that Hollywood tends to have these themes, that we're watching and we're processing, and then it's like something happens. I mean, look at how many alien movies there were. It's almost like they're preparing us for something. And again, I don't have a tinfoil hat. I wear a tinfoil crown. So I do go down these.
You got the crown. Okay, not the hat.
I have
you got
a crown.
The crown.
It's not a hat. It's a crown. So I do tend to go down some of these rabbit holes, but I'm just like, there's got to be something somewhere. Like, how is it that there's all these things that seem thematic and then something happens?
Says something even simpler. She says, now you're going to get AI ads on your Facebook feed.
Just by thinking.
That's even simpler. Like we're talking about AI. Now we're going to see the ads on Facebook now.
Some folks are saying they just think about something and then it goes on their feed.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. So that phenomenon is the AI making predictions about what you might want. It's basically the way that works. And this is what people mistake for when they think that the AI is listening to them have conversations. It's when you were searching about a Disney vacation and then you were searching for sunglasses. The AI or the computer algorithms are able to go, okay, this person is planning a vacation. They're looking for a sunny place. And then it also feeds you an advertisement for a great bikini or whatever to wear in Florida. And like, that's kind of what people go like, oh, it's like it read my mind. It's because it picked up on other things that you were doing and other
Maybe.
things you were saying and made a deduction, and it's usually right.
Yeah,
Which
but
is
I want to
scary.
put my tinfoil crown back on. I like that better. I like what Olga
Yes.
says. I'm gonna believe Olga because I like that's more fun. I'm gonna believe
Ice
Olga.
crown, the ice crown.
That's it. Absolutely. Patty says we sat in a room and had it, meaning AI, make a Dungeons and Dragons scenario to break into the White House, and it did it for a 5-person team. It depends on how it's used. Interesting. So that's a fun way of using it, right? Make a Dungeons and Dragons scenario. That's kind of cool.
My son loves Dungeons and Dragons. I got to tell him about it. I don't want him using these things though, so I don't know.
He's probably gonna. Just saying. He's
good. He shares it with me, and I'm just like, no. And I'm like, don't you put Siri on your phone? Don't you turn that bitch on? Leave that off. I don't want it.
I'm like, every time I think about those, I always turn those off. My daughters, by the way, I have young daughters, 19 and 13. They love the assist, the voice assist. They love it.
They don't type anything. Everything is,
yes.
How do you make grilled chicken? And I'm like, why? What are you doing? Like, just,
yes.
What are you doing?
I'm like, I don't want the FBI listening that easily. Make them work for it. Right?
Have you seen that meme? Have you seen the meme? It's a meme where on the top picture, it's like two women and they're having a conversation near their old-fashioned phone, and they're like, let's go to the other room. The phone might be bugged. And then the meme underneath is the woman say, hi, FBI, how do I make pancakes? Because like, no one cares. No one cares that they're being
right. Exactly. It's absolutely true. Yes. It's although the meme where they show the guy, there's a guy saying, you know, my FBI agent's ugly or something. Then they show a picture of the FBI agent sad. Oh, he was listening. You hurt his feelings. It's terrible. Absolutely. But let me go, you know, before I go, before I go to the next step, let me quickly do a bit more admin. Guys, if you're watching right now, if you're listening, click that like button. It does matter. Click it. It's how we get past good old algorithm. We want to get past them. So please click that like button. If you are on Twitter, please retweet it right now. Let people know we're on. Tweet them right now. If you want your chat to get to the front, you can always super chat me on Larry Sharpe YouTube if you want to. And again, these 3 people were so good to give me a chunk of their Monday evening. Give them some love in return. Follow them either on their websites or places that I showed you on both YouTube and Facebook, or just follow them on Twitter, right? Just follow them on Twitter.
Twitter's fun.
The Scientist, which is CYANTIST, or Stephen with a PH _Kent 89, or of course, Liberty Me 15. Please follow them. Give them some love. I would appreciate it. So I do want to bring up one thing, which I think a lot of people are thinking about. The idea of AI, not just doing, you know, helping your son with D&D or helping you, Stephen, with some idea on, you know, how to you know, do some designing, but actually doing the job. Like, you don't have to do the job. You just go, can you just design? And it just does it, right? And you don't even have to, it just does it. And we get to a point where we accept it as that's good enough. And we just go. Well, when that happens, not only is a designer out of a job, but kind of you too, right? At what point, if you can do a movie, like you said, you can do the movie for the Star Wars movie, are we putting it to where so many people simply aren't going to have work and we all got to sit on UBI and put on our VRs and be virtual people our whole life?
There's already implants that are being designed so that there's going to be this marriage, right, of this AI software technology, and you get it implanted, and it's like, I mean, I know Elon Musk has talked about that, and, you know, I'm
he's
sure,
doing it,
right? Yeah. So this kind of actually steers this into a completely different direction, because we're thinking about it in this conversation as something that's exterior to us, that, oh, you know, it'll be like a software, but like, this is really going to be something that changes humanity in a lot of ways, because there will be hopefully it'll be an option. I mean, maybe in some places it'll be as soon as you're born. That's a movie too. But as soon as you're born, like, you get this implant and it is a part of you.
Did you say hopefully? Is that how you began that? With hopefully? The day you're born, you get your implant? I hope you didn't
I'm
stop there with
hoping,
hopefully.
not that I'm hoping for it, but I'm just saying, like, there is a movie. There's like, this is already a movie. Like, there's been a movie, like,
Oh,
as
okay.
soon as you're
Okay.
born, like, they're gonna put it in you.
Well, it's going to happen.
The idea is that, so imagine, like, you won't need to go to school, right? Like, you'll just be getting, like, it'll be like the Matrix, like it's just
Well,
downloading.
that
Like, I
part's
don't
good.
know.
The no school part's good. I like that part.
Maybe we'll
I
finally
like
learn how to live in Eden. I mean, there's a
Oh.
lot of, I know that I'm going to keep throwing curveballs here because I've been thinking about this
Keep
a lot.
throwing them. I like it.
But we sure do like to keep ourselves busy and occupied with lots of useless things. And we might want to learn how to relax. Like, why do we want to rest in peace when we're dead? Like, we haven't figured out as human beings how to rest. Like, we're always trying to get that apple from that tree. We are always trying to be our God.
You're not wrong.
And it might be that a new age is coming where we do actually have to relax. What does that look like?
Is it relaxing though? If everything's done for you, if you're not connecting with nature, if you're not doing things for yourself?
Maybe that's the thing, is you're supposed to actually go out in nature. You're supposed to reject all of this.
We got to touch grass.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be that the next big movement is people do unplug and they throw the phone in
Okay, hold on.
Pitcher of beer and they say goodbye.
Cyan, you blow my mind here. So what you're saying is, if I get this right, you're saying that this might be where AI comes in and basically takes care of us and takes all these rat race jobs away from us so that we can just hang out in the woods and like pet pigeons and stuff. We can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's quite
She's
possible.
like, yeah, I love that.
Maybe.
I hope you're right. That's way better than Skynet.
Right?
That's like way better than Skynet.
I mean, obviously, you've got to deal with the human ego and what human beings create out of our ego. But at the same time, there is a beautiful part of humanity in our story that started supposedly in a place called Eden. And, maybe Eden does exist and it's a place where you're at peace and your ego isn't at battle all the time. And
I only live 7 miles from Eden. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
There we go. See, there we go.
Eden, Vermont. It's lovely.
But I want to walk down a little bit of a darker road, though. I want to go with Olga and hoping that we can implant babies with stuff.
No, I don't hope that.
I go down that road.
She's not hoping that.
I don't want that.
I know. I'm totally teasing. Yes. Her wanting to inject the babies with all this stuff. I know that. Yes, but no. But I could see parents, like, have you ever seen the movie Gattaca?
Oh, yeah.
Gattaca, right? That people wanted designer babies. And the people who weren't designer babies were at a serious disadvantage in life. They couldn't get jobs. They couldn't get things. And it created a black market, of course, of people who would have to lie to pretend that they're designer babies and stuff. And I think there'd be parents today that if they could get a chip put in their kid to where the kid would get the knowledge as into their brain immediately, and they could become like the Matrix, they can learn how to fly a helicopter or whatever, or learn a language because I just programmed into their brain. I think a lot of parents would say yes to that.
Yeah, I mean, how many kids right now struggle with all types of things, with anxiety, with dyslexia, with anything, with anything? There's so many chronic disorders and things that young people struggle with. Like, so imagine if there's something that they're like, hey, this is gonna do this for you. I mean, right now, you can have an implant that delivers your insulin for you.
Right. Yep.
So imagine something that it's instead of delivering your insulin, it just kind of reprograms your brain or your body or whatever. So it's like you don't need to take an SSRI. You can just have this. Hold on.
If that's true, Olga, this is going to go directly against what Cyan's saying, unless I'm gonna let me go down a road now, Cyan, if I can. Right. Let me go down this road here. I'm going to go the opposite. We're not going to go into a world where Eden is us outside touching grass. We're going to go where Eden is us laying in the ground, laying someplace with the machine that pumps our brain full of endorphins all day long, that we don't go anywhere.
We're already in that.
We just lay there and they pump endorphins all day long, and we are feeling good.
That's fine. We're not happy. Yeah.
No,
exactly. That's our reality right now. So we're already in a world that we are watching TikTok and keeping ourselves distracted and getting dopamine hits and consumerism and everything else. Like, we're already in that world.
No,
but what you're describing is distraction. And we certainly know that distraction is widespread and monetized, and we are very distracted. But we also see that happiness, purpose, connectedness and meaning are all like, polling in just a flat line at this point. And so like we've got all the distraction, no happiness. So there's definitely room for like balancing that out.
That's what I think is going to pull us out of all of this, is something that promises or real happiness. And I think, or people just reach the rock bottom and they realize it's from within. And, they can't get it out of AI. They can't get it out of a robot lover. They can't get it out of anything. And they just need to go sit outside and sit in the sun and be a human being and just succumb to it.
My worry about that is
that's the people with depression. Go out in the sun, then you'll feel better.
Cyan, to get to that point is going to be like the 1970s movies, where we still have to go through this like apocalyptic, craziness, because you're going to have the people that have their bad intentions with the AI, like steering us where we are completely, detached and whatever, to get to the point where we go through this collapse. And then people are like, you know what, maybe we need to go outside in the woods and go back to nature and do like what humans used to do. I'm a collapsitarian at the end of the day.
This comes after the male charismatic sociopath.
Right. It
comes after that. Yes.
Well, I gotta take off. I'm gonna leave on that note, but
you left on a sociopath note? Oh my God. Yes. Okay. No, leave on the love note. I like that.
Nice talking with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I will see you very soon. Let's stay in touch.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
We'll talk about happiness and kind of where people find it. Look, my own personal experience, and I think this connects anecdotally with what I see in studies and articles on happiness, is that it's usually connected to people finding responsibility, things that they need to build, people and animals that they need to care and look after for. It's when people have kids and pets and farms and things to tend to, busy hands. Responsibility breeds purpose. Right. And through purpose is what helps you navigate unhappiness. There is no such thing as a well of happiness. Happiness is a thing that happens and then it's gone. And then purpose is what helps carry you to the next high point of happiness. So the idea of just going out and touching grass and jerking off in the woods, like that is not happiness.
It sounds pretty happy to me. I don't know. I think that sounds pretty good. I'm just saying it sounds pretty good. I live in New York City, so I'm going to jail if I do that.
It is.
But I'm saying, I'm sure there's certain places you could do that.
And it's a dead end. It's going out and building a civilization in the woods that will bring you some sort of long-term sense of purpose and happiness.
Yeah, but if you do that, then you get arrested. So you kind of got to not have the society to do that.
No zoning. Look for no zoning.
No zoning. You're right. No zoning. You'll be okay. That's true. Okay, so end the zoning, and then we can do the thing that Steven said. Okay, then we're good. That then works. That then works. As long as there's.
Do you guys remember the movie The Postman with Kevin Costner?
Oh yes, I remember that. Yes.
No.
So, it's a good movie if you get a chance. Again, post-apocalyptic 90s.
I'm not going to call
early
it a good movie, Olga. I'm not going to go to good. It's an interesting movie. I will say that, Steven. Interesting.
Larry, do you think jerking off in the woods would be a good tagline for Pork Fest in New Hampshire?
That would be amazing.
There is certainly some of that happening.
Because that actually happens. Like, that's a thing. Like, you're not making that up. That's a thing in Porkface. So, yeah.
So I will say you have your own private hub and you're not invading other people's space.
Absolutely. It's totally voluntary. And
Are you going? Have you been to Porkfest, David?
I've been once, and I really want to go again.
You should go this year. It's the 20th anniversary. We'll be there.
I am out of the country, but it's like I want to go again so bad.
Yeah. It's the Dos Equis.
Oh, fun. Yeah, the last time it was just my wife and I, but I really want to go with our daughter this time so that she can experience that week of just roaming with the kids. And
it is a wonderful experience for kids. We went last year for the first time, and I felt like our kids were allowed to be what we were in the 80s.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like, it just had that sense of it. The reason why I kept bringing up the Postman is because there's this character that is that charismatic, sociopathic character, which is played by this actor. I never remember his name, but he's a good actor. It was a good movie. Anyway, sorry.
All right, I'm gonna go with good. I'm gonna let her. It was good. Okay, it was
I'm gonna
good.
watch it
Done
again.
deal. Yes, there we go. I have to watch it again, and I'll watch with a different lens this time. Is what I'll do. A different lens.
Imagine that it
Absolutely.
was post-apocalyptic because of AI, and then
It'll be better. So I guess there's one thing that's kind of more down your road, Stephen, and that is, what if AI is able to create in some way the more by either sheer volume or just through, I guess, even just a formula that makes people happy, to where it can produce enough content to kind of knock out the old content, right? Like Disney can only make X number of Star Wars movies every year or every 2 years, right? There's only a certain amount of content Disney can put out, right? To keep a franchise like Star Wars going, or Star Trek if you're on opposite side, of whatever the franchise is, right? Franchise A. AI could knock out, in theory, if it gets better, and it probably will, it could knock out a Disney, a Star Wars movie, once every 2 months, whatever that time frame is. And boom, knock them out. Does that mean, and worse, if it's, as I say it is, which is sporadic everywhere, how do you sue the guy who's making the fake Star Wars movies? How do you stop the guy who's making the fake Star Wars? Oh, what if there's 25 people, each of them making fake Star Wars movies? That seems like an issue to me.
Yeah. So Star Wars specifically, as an example, is that
Yes.
Star Wars and Lucasfilm have always thrived on fans making their own artistic expression of Star Wars. George Lucas was very emphatic during Star Wars Rise that fan films, Star Wars podcasts, blogs would not be targeted by Lucasfilm for copyright infringement. People make Star Wars movies all the time. YouTube is full of them. Feature films that people make featuring the sound effects, the music, and licensed characters. But the belief is that fans creating their own Star Wars stuff is what makes the Star Wars brand strong. Now, if robots just start cranking out that stuff for people's enjoyment, I think you will start to run afoul of the purpose of that liberalization of copyright infringement. And I think you could see a future where the copyright holder, being Disney, goes, this is no longer helping to build our fan community. It might just be hurting the market for our product. And companies will take action if the market for their product is being harmed. And that's where I think you're going to get into really seedy territory.
I like it.
I think if the market gets over flooded with like what you're describing, it's going to diminish the core product, right? I mean, that goes with anything.
Right.
I mean, and I guess the market will respond, whether it's people who consume that say, "Oh my gosh, this is just like over and over the same thing," or the in this case, the company themselves. But it is interesting. I mean, the other thing is, how will they know that an AI is making it?
Yeah.
That's my other worry.
Find a way for it to just be like, no, that's me. And it's really like this guy's pumping out. He's got like, his AI working on it. Like, how would we know?
Yeah.
No, I think, again, like with Star Wars as the example, what fuels most of the division in that particular sub community is really a legitimacy crisis of who's making the art. There's a debate that's always existed between, is this story George Lucas's and no one else has a right to add to the canon? And that's why Disney's legitimacy is often held sort of in question by fans. They go like, this really isn't theirs. They wrote a check for it, but it's not really theirs. AI could crank out Star Wars movies all day and night, but I think I know fans would still go, this isn't real. This isn't the real story. This is not canon. This is not added to the text, the sacred texts of the story. It's just entertainment. And there's a dividing line between entertainment and what is sacred, if that makes any sense.
It does, because for me, the Star Wars after, episode 4, 5, and 6, that's it. Everything else is entertainment.
We all hold certain things sacred and hold certain things as
Yep.
just entertainment.
I remember when I'm a big Star Trek fan, and the original Star Trek, and when I know you say that, but we're cooler. We're still cooler than you guys. Anyway, what I remember is when the Next Generation came out, I didn't want to watch it because I was mad but they're gonna make Star Wars. But I got okay with it because they did something which I thought was okay. They made different characters. They didn't try to copy Spock and Kirk and whatever. They made different characters. I was like, oh, okay. They're not stealing my guys. And then at the same time, there was still Star Trek movies coming out that still had my guys in it. So I was like, okay, I was like, okay, I'm not that mad. I could deal with it. I could deal with it. I was okay with it. I didn't get so upset. But then when they made the new Star Trek come out, when they actually had Kirk, Spock, and McCoy again, I was ready to get mad again. I was like, I'm gonna get mad now because they took my people. I'm mad now. But they made it. They did a scan. They said, oh, it's a different timeline.
Right.
So I went, okay, I guess I'm not so mad anymore. Yep. So, and does this actually make any sense? I don't know, but I guess I'm joining what you're saying, Stephen. I had to, in my mind, make it, is it okay or not? Like I had to decide that, is this okay or not? And when I did, it was fine. And when I didn't, I got mad.
It's a matter
we identify so much with certain things. I mean, and it comes from our childhood. Like I too love Star Trek. I love Star Wars. I mean, you know, 70s
I do too. I like them both.
Yeah. But I remember that I really enjoyed what I loved about, now we're going to talk about Star Trek, but what I loved about Second Generation when I was a kid, it was like, oh, there's more. And I think that's how some people feel about the Star Wars. Maybe people a little bit younger than us. It's like, oh, there's more. And, you know, so I know like my husband and my kids, they love like The Mandalorian and some, and I'll watch it too, but it's not, I don't look at it the same as the original. Like
what are the most popular and actually loved Star Wars properties that have come out in recent history? It's The Mandalorian and Rogue One, the standalone film that told how the rebels got the Death Star plans. What do they have in common? New characters and uncovered time in the plot. And it didn't mess with legacy characters.
Yes.
They created new ones.
That matters to me. I do not like messing with my legacy characters. It bothers me. Keep my people, add new stuff.
The thing with Rogue One, though, is that it had the genuine feel of the original.
Oh, that's true too.
It didn't feel like the new ones. Like for all of the other stuff, Rogue One is my favorite that has come out because there's a continuity with it. That feeling, even the way it looks, is much more similar to the original films than the other stuff. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And Mandalorian has a little bit of that too. There's not all of it, but there's some moments of it where they do capture that feeling, if that makes any sense, of the original.
Yeah. Well, by the way, we have some fans here. Nicholas says, you have 3 great guests today. I really enjoyed their thoughts and ideas discussed. Look at us. We're winning, guys. We have fans. That's great. Well, if you guys feel that, and do me a favor, please follow these people on Twitter. It does matter, right? Give them a little bit of love. Follow what they're doing. A lot of them are doing writing. A lot of them are they have their own podcasts, their own shows. Watch them. Give them some love. They give us some love. Give them some love in return. It really does matter. I appreciate it. And of course, please like if you haven't liked already. We got to get past those algorithms. I really think you have to. It's important for us to do that. I guess the last piece I want to bring up here is this inevitable?
Unfortunately, yes. I think it is. I think we are already way past a point in our technology and in expectations that people have and that the market has and even military and government have, that it's already there. It just what we're imagining, and I think the anticipation that we have, and I think what is being released maybe in terms of expectations, I think they already have that. And I think it's just a question of us getting used to it before this revelation, or maybe it'll be like in small increments. I'm not sure, but I think we're past the point where it's
maybe not. Cyan's right. This is second coming. Come on, tell me, Stephen, should we ban this or not?
So I think a couple of things. It is inevitable. The march forward, which might not be progress, is inevitable. That's what human beings do. We reach and reach and reach, and eventually we overreach and harm ourselves. But That being said, you can't ban it because that simply just slows the process without having to do the hard work of setting real guardrails. So banning is not a solution because it will still force its way through. The better thing to do is govern ourselves. And that means doing things like actually coming together in a convention of the states type environment, setting principles for what we believe as a people about what AI is for, who it should be serving, and what its limitations should be. We actually have to do the hard work of governing our own society. But simply going, oh, I don't like this thing, ban it. That's not governing yourself. That's just being afraid. And that's going to bring a bad result. So good libertarian answer. A convention. That's what we need to do.
I like it. I'm not complaining. That's a good answer. It's way better than just hit it with a stick. I mean, I'm much happier.
Do not make the AI angry. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know about that. So
don't make it angry.
I still do think I'll give you a little bit of pushback from your earlier things. A little bit of pushback. I said that the best chance of us is letting it be as sporadic as possible. More people have it. Lots of people have it. And the reason why I say I think that's our best chance of stopping the Olga apocalypse she's been talking about all night. Besides that, the only way we stop it is if there's enough people who have it, I think we don't follow the one. And my example of this is media right now. There was a time when you could watch TV and everybody believed whatever was on TV. Everybody believed what was on the radio. Everybody believed what was there. Now we don't. Now we all looking around. We're far more skeptical now. It's way harder now for one person to control the masses. Not that it can't be done. It's just way harder because people are like, no, that's the bad guy. Why? Because my talking head said Steven's the bad guy and Olga is the one to follow. So we're all going to follow Olga. But Olga only has 1 million people. There's 2 million people who are also following Nicholas and 3 million people who are following you. I feel like the more we spread it out, the better.
Fair enough. I believe.
We won. Shall see. Look at that. I love it.
I'm ready for the collapse either way. So what?
I'm moving in with you. Happens. When it happens, I'm coming to your house, Olga. I'm coming in with you.
Bring
I love
skills as long as you have skills that you can, you know how to work some land animals or shoot or something. We will take it into consideration.
I'm still a very good Marine. So if you need security, I got you down. I got you covered. I know weapons very well. Small arms tactics. I know how to dig in. All good. So yes, all good. Yes.
You are welcome.
So guys, I want to say everyone who's watching, thank you so much for watching this evening. This is a great show. I hope you all enjoyed it. For you guys who showed up, I mean, thank you so much. Olga, Stephen, appreciate it. I'm glad you guys came. So happy that, and some of you took it on short notice. So thank you for that. Also, I appreciate it. So glad to see you guys. Guys, I will be here tomorrow, 1 p.m. I'm doing my live show, my live radio show out of out of Western New York tomorrow. Then I will be on again tomorrow night with a sports person talking about sports and culture tomorrow at 7 p.m. I will see you all.